The cheapest financial advisor on earth may also be the easiest way to make a confident mistake. Imagine you have $1 million saved up for retirement. You log into a popular AI chatbot, drop your numbers in, and by Tuesday you feel like a Wall Street genius because the machine spat out a flawlessly formatted, tax-optimized asset allocation plan for exactly $20 a month. On paper, it looks absolutely perfect. But here is how that exact scenario can permanently vaporize $33,000 of your net worth in a single afternoon. Generative AI is syntactically flawless. It speaks with absolute authority. And societally, we have been conditioned to equate articulate, confident text with genuine intelligence and accuracy. We are stepping into an era where artificial intelligence can analyze decades of market data in seconds, building portfolios that look identical to what a high-end wealth manager might suggest. But financial planning is not just a data retrieval task. It is fundamentally a behavioral and legal discipline. Today, we are going to test AI advice against the basic realities of fiduciary duty, looking at suitability, hidden hallucinations, privacy traps, and the brutal math of behavioral panic. If you ignore the rules we are about to cover, you are essentially flying blind into one of the most complex tax and market environments of the last 20 years. The wealth management industry has historically survived on extreme information asymmetry and opaque fee structures. Consumers rightly view the standard 1% fee as a parasitic drag on simple passive indexing. So when an app comes along offering to do it for free, it feels like a massive victory for the average investor. But the reality is far more dangerous. If you want to build durable wealth, you have to understand the difference between a mathematical ideal and a practical reality. That is what we do here. If you are new to the channel, hitting that subscribe button is going to be the best return on investment for your time today. We break down the quiet, mathematical realities of money without the hype. Over the next 20 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly where the free advice breaks down, how it hallucinated its way into a tax nightmare, and the specific protocol you need to safely use these tools without accidentally destroying your retirement timeline. Let us get into the myth of democratized finance. There is a very common piece of conventional wisdom circulating right now, and it goes something like this. AI has finally democratized finance. Paying a human advisor a 1% assets under management fee is an outdated boomer tax. The argument is that for $20 a month, a large language model can analyze decades of market data, build a modern portfolio, and optimize your wealth better than a human who just puts you in target date funds anyway. And honestly, it is very easy to see why the average American believes this. It stems from a deeply ingrained resentment of the assets under management model. For a long time, you would hand your money over to a guy in a nice suit, pay him $10,000 a year, and he would essentially just buy the S&P 500 for you. When you look at it through that lens, the 1% fee feels like highway robbery. People are desperate for a cheaper alternative, and they want to believe that the technology has finally evolved enough to cut out the middleman entirely, just like Expedia did to travel agents. But the danger lies in something psychologists call the fluency heuristic. When something is easy to process, we naturally assume it is true. Generative AI is built to be fluent. It strings words together in a way that sounds authoritative, calm, and perfectly logical. When you ask it to explain a complex backdoor Roth strategy, it gives you a 5-paragraph answer with flawless grammar and bulleted takeaways. Because the delivery is so polished, your brain automatically assumes the underlying math and legal tax code must also be flawless. We have spent our entire lives associating good communication with deep expertise. But a large language model does not actually know what a Roth IRA is. It is simply predicting the next most likely word in a sequence based on training data. It is a stochastic parrot. It is incredibly good at mimicking a financial advisor, but it lacks the contextual awareness to know if the advice it is giving actually applies to your specific, messy, real-world life. It gives you the illusion of competence without the foundation of liability. This belief is heavily fueled by American tech utopianism. We have a historical blind spot where we assume that technology always eliminates middlemen with zero loss of quality. We saw it with booking flights, buying car insurance, and trading stocks on mobile apps. The assumption is that financial planning is purely a data retrieval task. You just need the right numbers, put them in the right boxes, and you are done. But wealth management is not about data retrieval. It is fundamentally a behavioural and legal discipline. A machine can retrieve the optimal tax code strategy, but it cannot stop you from making an emotional mistake when the market drops. It cannot sit across the table and navigate a disagreement between you and your spouse about risk tolerance. The tech utopian view assumes that humans are perfectly rational creatures who just needed better software to make good decisions. I have run those numbers, and I can tell you that human beings are anything but rational when their life savings start fluctuating by tens of thousands of dollars a day. That is where the math really starts to fall apart. If you think the psychological blind spots are bad, wait until you see what happens to the actual math when we run a 5-year simulation. The core mathematical trap of AI financial advice is optimizing for fee minimization while completely ignoring behavioral alpha and suitability drag. An AI builds a portfolio based on stochastic text prediction, not fiduciary duty. It optimizes for the mathematical ideal of net worth on a spreadsheet, but it fails to account for real-world cash flow liquidity, tax friction, and human panic. Let us look at realistic variables for the next few years. We have a risk-free rate stabilizing around 4%. We have sticky inflation dragging at nearly 3%. And most importantly, we have the sunsetting of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act in 2026, which will revert marginal tax brackets higher and cut estate tax exemptions in half. We also have high equity valuations that require sophisticated asset location strategies. If you ask a machine to navigate this, it will focus entirely on the lowest expense ratio, completely missing the massive structural tax changes heading straight for your portfolio. Let us compare a $1 million portfolio over a 5-year turbulent horizon. Scenario A is the free AI advisor. Your cost is effectively zero for management, maybe just a $240 a year subscription for the premium model. Over 5 years, your total cost is $1,200. You prompt the AI to build a growth portfolio, and it suggests an 80-20 split of tech stocks and long-term treasuries. It is mathematically aggressive, and over a 30-year timeline, it might even be correct. But it completely ignores your personal cash flow needs and the upcoming tax bracket changes. The machine sees $1 million and assumes you have infinite patience. It does not know that your roof might need replacing, or that your industry is facing layoffs. It simply looks at historical returns and plots a line up and to the right. You feel great because you just saved $50,000 in fees that a human would have charged you. You tell your friends you are managing your own money now. But you have unknowingly stepped onto a landmine because the math only works if you act like a robot for the next 60 months. Then the trap springs. It is 2026. The tax laws have reverted, and the market drops 22%. You log into your AI advisor and ask what to do. It gives you the mathematically correct generic advice to stay the course. But you are not a machine. You experience a sudden liquidity crunch, you get nervous, and you panic sell $150,000 at the absolute bottom, just to cover near-term cash needs and feel secure. Furthermore, the AI never advised you to execute Roth conversions back in 2024 and 2025 before the tax cuts sunset. It did not see the whole board. The result is brutal. Yes, you saved $50,000 in advisory fees, but you locked in a $33,000 permanent capital loss from panic selling. And you incurred a $45,000 lifetime tax drag by missing the low bracket Roth conversion window. Your net loss versus a benchmark is negative $78,000. You optimized for a 1% fee and ended up paying a massive invisible tax for bad behavior and missed legal structuring. Now look at scenario B, the fiduciary human, which I call alpha through avoidance. Your cost is the standard 1%, or maybe a $5,000 flat retainer. Over 5 years, you pay $50,000 in fees. That hurts to write the check. But the human spotted the 2026 tax sunset. They calculated your exact marginal bracket and executed $100,000 in Roth conversions at 24% before the rates jumped. When the 22% market drawdown hit, the human acted as a psychological firewall. They prevented your panic sell by utilizing a pre-planned 1-year cash buffer, solving the discrepancy between net worth and cash flow. They also executed tax loss harvesting during the dip, generating a $12,000 tax shield while avoiding wash sale violations that an AI might hallucinate. The final tally is completely different. You paid $50,000 in fees, but you gained $45,000 in tax savings, shielded $12,000 via tax loss harvesting, and avoided a $33,000 behavioral penalty. Your net gain versus the AI approach is positive $40,000. The brutal conclusion here is that the 1% fee is a drag, but the invisible penalties of AI carry a mathematical cost of roughly 1.5% to 3% annually in lost optimization. Take the wash sale rule, for example. This is a very common AI error. An AI will frequently suggest tax loss harvesting to offset gains. It sounds brilliant, but the language model rarely checks if you automatically reinvested dividends in that exact same ticker within 30 days. If you did, you inadvertently violate the IRS wash sale rule, completely nullifying the tax benefit and creating an accounting nightmare for yourself. A human advisor with proper portfolio software catches this automatically. A conversational language model misses it because it lacks access to your real-time brokerage ledger. Quantitative studies, like Vanguard's Advisors Alpha, consistently show that a good human advisor adds about 3% in net returns per year. Half of that comes purely from behavioral coaching, keeping you from blowing up your own plan. AI currently fails entirely at this behavioral metric. It is an amazing calculator, but a terrible therapist. And investing is 50% therapy. Most people stop here. They assume they are smart enough to beat the behavioral trap. And that confidence ends up costing them $50,000. Why do intelligent people trust their life savings to a chatbot in the first place? It comes down to psychology and game theory. The first factor is automation bias and the machine heuristic. Humans are cognitively lazy by nature. We assign intrinsic objectivity to machines. If an AI spits out a Monte Carlo simulation showing a 94.2% success rate for your retirement, you accept that output as ground truth. You assume the computer knows best. What you fail to realize is that the AI might have hallucinated the dividend yield input, or used a pre-2022 inflation assumption because of a cutoff in its training data. The machine presents a guess with absolute mathematical certainty, and our brains are hardwired to defer to that certainty. We lower our critical thinking shields when a screen gives us an answer that looks like a spreadsheet. This bias is what allows incredibly smart professionals to make devastating financial errors simply because the computer told them it was mathematically sound. This is amplified by what I call the Dunning-Kruger proxy effect. When a user writes a complex prompt, like asking the AI to act as Warren Buffett and build a tax-efficient ETF portfolio for a 35-year-old, the AI generates a brilliant, nuanced response. Reading that response makes the user feel like a financial genius. The AI acts as an ego amplifier. The user confuses their ability to write a clever prompt with their actual ability to execute and weather the strategy over 30 years. It is exactly like the WebMD paradox in medicine. WebMD has access to every medical journal on Earth. It has unlimited data. But if you type in that you have a stomachache, it will tell you that you either have mild indigestion or terminal cancer. It lacks the diagnostic suitability to know the difference. A doctor, acting as a fiduciary, contextualizes that data to your specific biology. AI in finance does the exact same thing. It gives you all the possibilities but none of the context, leaving you dangerously overconfident in a diagnosis you are not actually qualified to make for yourself. This brings us to a massive invisible penalty, which is the conflict of interest privacy trap. When you use a free or cheap AI to plan your financial life, it is not acting as a fiduciary. It is a data harvesting engine. If you feed an AI your net worth, your debt obligations, and your spending habits, you are paying for the service by training their model. Their primary objective is user retention and data aggregation, not preserving your purchasing power. I see so many people handing over the keys to their financial psychology to platforms that are fundamentally designed to monetize them. This is exactly why I built Cash Class, the official Tom Talks Money web app. I wanted a bridge between learning the math on this channel and actually doing it in your own life, but without the privacy compromises of standard tech. With Cash Class, there are absolutely no bank logins required. You just securely upload your CSV statements directly into the web app, and we help you map out your cash flow and optimize your financial engine. It even includes my complete Budgeting 101 course for free. It is the perfect tool for doing the heavy lifting yourself, while keeping your data under your own control. You can start your 14-day free trial right now by clicking the link at the very top of the description. Taking control of your data is the first step to truly owning your financial independence, rather than just leasing it from a tech conglomerate. But even if you get the privacy right, there is a deeper psychological penalty to AI advice. I call it the fiduciary empathy gap. Wealth management is rarely a solitary spreadsheet exercise. It is a multiplayer game involving spouses, heirs, and business partners. An AI cannot sit in a room and read the body language of a terrified spouse who cannot sleep because of an aggressive tech stock allocation. Optimizing the math is useless if it destroys the psychological safety of the household. I have seen this lead to what you might call divorce by volatility. The computer tells you to hold a mathematically aggressive portfolio because over 30 years it yields the highest return. But the computer does not live in your house during a 20% market correction. The computer does not have to explain why the college fund just dropped by 50 grand. A human advisor acts as a psychological firewall, managing not just the math, but the marital and behavioral friction that comes with it. If you rely solely on an algorithm, you are stripping away the very human context that makes long-term investing survivable in the first place. This is where conventional wisdom says to save your money and trust the machine. I am going to tell you to spend money strategically. Here is why. To optimize wealth, you must use AI for what it actually is. It is an unlimited research assistant. But you must strictly firewall it away from fiduciary execution. I call this the Core Satellite Advisory Protocol. Step 1 is the fiduciary Turing test, which acts as a filter for suitability. You should never ask AI what you should do. Instead, ask it to explain how things work. A wrong prompt is asking if you should convert your traditional IRA to a Roth in 2026. That asks for a suitability judgment and is highly prone to errors. The right protocol is asking the AI to build a mathematical table showing the tax drag of a $100,000 withdrawal at a 24% marginal rate versus a 33% rate over 20 years. This forces the AI into pure computation. You extract the raw math, but you retain the executive decision-making power. You use the machine for leverage, not for leadership. Step 2 in the protocol is running a break-even analysis on your own behavioral drag. Have you ever panic sold during a downturn? Have you ever sat in cash for 2 years out of fear because the news cycle was too negative? If your portfolio is under $250,000, using a standard robo-advisor for automated investing is completely fine. But if your portfolio is over $500,000, you need to hire an advice-only, flat-fee fiduciary. A certified financial planner might charge you $3,000 for a one-time comprehensive plan. You then use AI to monitor that plan's milestones. Step 3 is utilizing the pre-mortem prompting system. When using AI to test a financial thesis, you must force the machine to attack its own logic. Always append this phrase to your prompts. Tell the AI to act as a hostile, contrarian fiduciary. Ask it to identify 3 specific ways your strategy fails mathematically in a stagflation environment. Demand that it highlights any tax code assumptions it is making that might expire before 2030. Force the AI to find the holes in your boat. Step 4 is understanding the balance of asymmetry and liability. You should use AI for summarizing 10K reports, backtesting asset correlations, finding obscure IRS publications, and tracking your spending logic. But you use humans for estate planning, nuanced tax loss harvesting, behavioral intervention, and taking on legal liability if something goes horribly wrong. It is the autopilot illusion. Modern commercial planes fly themselves 95% of the time. AI is that autopilot. But airlines still pay pilots $300,000 a year for the 5% of the time when the plane hits violent turbulence or an engine fails over the ocean. A human advisor is paid for the 5% of market panic, not the 95% of market drift. If you try to fire the pilot to save a few bucks on your ticket, you are risking the entire plane the moment the weather turns bad. The goal is not to blindly reject AI, but to understand exactly where its competence ends and where human liability must begin. Once you separate the research function from the execution function, you instantly elevate your financial strategy above 90% of the market. We have covered a massive amount of ground today, from the fluency heuristic to sequence of returns risk. If you want to keep optimizing your financial engine and go even deeper into these mechanics, I want to invite you to click the join button below the video and become one of the optimizers. It is the channel membership program here where you get priority comment replies from me, custom sketch badges, and a direct line to help shape the exact topics we cover next. It is a small way to support the deep research that goes into these videos while joining a community of people who actually care about the math behind the money. To wrap this all up, remember this final analogy. High income is the water, and your net worth is the bucket. AI is incredibly powerful at showing you how to turn the faucet on higher. It can help you negotiate a raise, brainstorm side hustles, or learn the basics of index funds. But if your bucket has holes in it, like tax inefficiencies, behavioral panic, or terrible estate planning, the water will simply drain out as fast as it comes in. A fiduciary is there to plug the holes, ensuring that the wealth you generate actually stays yours. Do not let the appeal of a $20 monthly fee trick you into making a confident mistake that costs you tens of thousands of dollars a decade from now. Treat AI like the brilliant sociopathic intern that it is. Have it run the spreadsheets, have it pull the data, but never let it make the final trade without human oversight. I want to turn this over to you for some peer-review data gathering. Let me know down in the comments if you have ever tested an AI for financial advice, and specifically if you caught it hallucinating a tax rule or a market return. Your experiences help everyone else in the community spot these traps before they step in them. As always, keep reading the fine print, keep running your own numbers, and do not let a chatbot dictate your peace of mind. I will see you in the next one.